Paul realized that he's a debtor, okay? And he says he's prepared himself, so he's ready. And then he says, I'm not ashamed of the gospel because it is the power of God unto salvation, because in that gospel, the righteousness of God is revealed. In other words, the ticket is revealed of how to get into heaven, which is the most important question that a human being can ask is, how do I get into heaven? Well, you get there by righteousness, okay? Now, how much righteousness do I need in order to get into heaven? You need total righteousness. Okay, you've got to be perfect in your standing with God. So the problem with that is you might realize that, we might have a few perfect people in here, but the Bible tells us there is none righteous. No, not one. And we went to 3 categories of the type of unrighteous people that exist in the world. You got the dude in the streets. You have the hustler, okay? You have the pimp. You have the drug dealer. You have the murderer, okay? You have the kidnapper and the extortioner. You have that person that's just low down, the womanizer, the manizer. We got manizers too, don't we, Crystal? We got and these people don't have a problem understanding that they're sinners. But then you got the other kind of sinner. It's the sinner, the Dudley Do-Right sinner. Okay, the nerd sinner. Okay, the sinner that if you should take a look at that person, you would say, okay, that's a real nice guy. That's a real nice girl. They hardly do anything wrong, it seems. I never see them slipping up. They pay their taxes. They pay their bills. They're just good people. They cut their grass and do the yard and have everything. They're always clean. They never go to bed with a dish unwashed. You know who I'm talking about. Well, the Bible says to them too, hey, listen, you do the same things in your mind. Okay, you see, sometimes the difference between the perpetrator, okay, and the moralizer is that the moralizer is just scared of the consequences, but it's still in their heart. And then you have the third category. You have the Jew, okay, the one who has received the very oracles of God. The one who has received God's law, the one who has been circumcised to be set apart for God, okay? All 3 categories end up in a verdict of unrighteous and guilty, because all have sinned. Go to Romans chapter 3, verse 23. It says, all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. Not many, not most, okay? Just in case you wonder that if you just might be an anomaly, okay? That rare exception. The Bible says that all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. There is this glory that God intended, and we read it all the time in the book of Genesis, chapter 1, verse 27 and 28. God said, let us make man in our image, according to our likeness, and let him have dominion. That is God's plan for man, to look like him and to conduct our business perfectly for his glory. God has this vision of man as his management team that looks just like him. And by looking like him, we glorify him. That's what glory means. Glory means to reflect the true image of something, okay? And because of sin, all fall short of God's original plan for us to be in his image, after his likeness. We fall short. Now, let me just say, okay, let me use an illustration. You're on a cliff. On the other side is another cliff. In between the cliff that you're on and the cliff that's across the way, okay, is a chasm. That at the bottom of the chasm, and the chasm, by the way, is 4,000 feet deep. 4,000 feet deep, okay? That's like higher than the Empire State Building, okay? And you need to jump from one cliff to the other cliff, okay? But the other cliff is 100 feet away. Okay? Now, the longest long jump is under 30 feet. Okay? By a world-class athlete, okay, who had a freak jump. The record has been standing since the 70s. Okay? And that's the longest any human being has ever long jumped. But you have to go 100 feet or fall into the chasm, okay? Now, say you get a guy, and he gets pumped up, and he takes some steroids, okay, and he's been training, and he jumps 50 feet, okay? He comes short. He falls into the chasm. You only jump 10 feet. Another girl jumps 80 feet. One guy comes up and he makes a jump of 99 feet. Okay? Guess what? All came short and all fall into the chasm and are destroyed. That's the picture here. All have sinned and come short of the glory of God. So then, if my righteousness won't get me in, then what will get me in? That's the question. I need righteousness, but I've already fallen short. Well, thank God for Jesus Christ. It says, for all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. Then we get into verse 24. Being justified, and we define that word justified as being declared righteous by the righteous judge himself, by the offended party, okay? If you hurt somebody's feelings, if you hurt somebody physically, if somebody steals from you, if somebody offends you in any way, you're the only person that can let them off the hook. And you do it by declaring them righteous. By the way, this is going to help somebody today. When it comes to forgiveness, okay, you may feel that somebody has done something to you that's so bad and so harsh and so wrong that you can never forgive them. Is there anybody here that's struggling with forgiveness? Don't raise your hand. Okay? You're struggling with forgiveness. Okay? All you have to do in order to forgive somebody is to declare them forgiven. Amen. Once you begin to declare them as forgiven, you'll begin to actually forgive them in your heart. Okay? But you have to declare them off the hook. And that's what justification is. Justification is the legal act of declaring a guilty party righteous. Okay? So it says, being justified, what's the next word? Freely. Okay? So what does it cost to get into heaven? Okay? Nothing. The cost to you is zero. Okay? The entrance ticket into heaven costs you nothing, but it costs God everything. See, because God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. He gave the most valued thing in heaven so that it would be free to you. He paid the price.